every single morning, I strategically have books that I talk about. Yesterday I had 3 kids that were struggling during independent reading. They weren't focused, so this morning I strategically picked level C and D books that I did a book talk on, and then I had the kids walk them over and put it in the tub. I also do it based on student interests when I'm modeling book talks for different reasons. One reason, my kids now know that I know what they want, I know what they like, and I know where they are. And the second reason is because when they see me doing book talks, then it makes their life so much easier when they do it. Because if they see me do it every day, eventually it becomes a lot easier for them to do. And then one thing I want to say real quick is that when we read as adults, we really do. We read to learn, or we learn for enjoyment. We then take that a lot of times and we share it with other people. I, before, was having kids read books and then there was no closure. Kids had gained all this knowledge, or kids had gained like this favorite part, or created this opinion about something or an idea, and they were never able to share it. Having said that, also, they can be very wordy and it can take a long time to do book talks. So you have to be careful with that as you go, but they can do it. And they're very, very amazing. And what you'll find is that when you talk about a book, kids have to touch it. And when other kids talk about a book, they have to touch it also. Because it's left the mouths of somebody who's on their level and where they are. So this is our anchor chart. He might use it, he might not. I have no idea. But Darion is going to go ahead and share with us about his book.
And the whole class, that she said, make your audience try to read a book and start roping them in. And this book is nonfiction because it could happen. And a little girl lost her cat. I'm not telling you the end.
In realistic fiction, you're very smart because it could happen, but it didn't, so it's realistic fiction.
I'm going to read you my favorite page. Fluffy is not
Hold on. You're talking to the book, so I want you to do this so they can hear you because your voice was going bam, bam, bam. Hold it just like that.
Fluffy is not on the stairs. Did she run away? Where is she? That's it.
Darren, who do you think might like this book? If you were to place it in somebody's hands, who would love it?
Miss Oaks?
Why, though? Take a moment and think. Why do you think she loved this book?
She probably like cats.
Ask her.
Do you like cats?
I do like cats.
Have you ever lost something?
I have lost a lot of stuff.
You had kitties?
No, I'm actually allergic to cats. But I do like them.
But
If you let me borrow that book, I might just read it.
It might make her
Maybe
itch too, Darren.
Yeah.
She's allergic to cats. Go put it in her hand, but make sure you tell her what you need to tell her.
You got me.
That is the perfect example of how book talks go, because it really is so, it is so on the kids, and he was excited about it, and so that's the point of what book talks are in our classroom. Does anybody have anything to add or any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The ending, not because of whatever he chose to say, but help me understand that.
So at the end of it, they read their favorite page, and then we do book talks because you're recommending.
Right.
Not all of them are just fluent with that. They're not just going to say, it still hasn't clicked, even though it's been a year that I talk about a book, because I want somebody to read a book.
Right.
So sometimes there's a little bit of like prompting as you go to remind him that this is why you just did this. But a lot of the kids, like Jason earlier, they will just do it on their own.
Now my question is, to put a book in someone's hand,
That's new.
what is it that he's supposed to do? When you said he
He
had
like
something
asked
to
me a
say.
question. Like, does anybody in here like cats?
Yeah, he did. He asked me.
What else do we tell people when we give them a book?
You gotta give it back.
And it's kind of a humorous thing in our room that you better give it back after independent reading time. So that's just something we do.
Oh, okay.
It's just.
I
like
thought
a-
you said something, but I didn't hear that.
So you don't have them ask a generic question to the class? Like,
Yeah.
does anybody like cats?
Yes.
And then see who raises their hand and then go?
So this is what I want. I want kids to have a person in mind. So some of my kids are at the point where they say, Andy, you got to read this book because you love outer space and there's aliens in this book. Because that's what we do. We don't go to Walmart and say, hey, does anybody like cows? Like,
Right.
we specifically have a person in mind. But not everybody's there.
Right.
So it depends.
Okay.
And that's when the kids have taken it and you know who can do what. So you move with them. Everything is with them.
Okay. Can you just walk us through like step by step? So the first thing you do is everybody goes to read. Then what's next?
Then what's next is whoever I conference with, if they were in their cozy spot doing their best reading, then they can do a book talk.
Okay.
Darian. Have a seat. Go pick them up and put them in your bag. Life will go on. It's okay. So after independent reading time, if they're in their spot, they're up for a book talk. I do 5 conferences a day. The beginning of the year, I did 5 book talks, and this is the reason why. They couldn't talk about book for a long time. They didn't speak strong for a long time. There's a lot of different factors. Now I had to change things, and I actually talked with Oaks and Tracy. I do 2 of them after independent reading time, and 3 of them at the end of the day. Because now the kids have taken on, and I didn't teach them this, does anybody have any questions? So like, they didn't just do it this time, but now the kids will say, does anybody have any questions? So they chose that, and then I had to put the limit on it. You get to choose 2 people. Because, there'll be 17 million questions about, lots of different things.
So they pick somebody in the audience that some of them do. Some of them you might have to coach through. And then they ask them a question like, do you like cats? Or whatever. And then they go give them the book.
They go give them the book. And 2, I've had to kind of tweak it. If somebody was to recommend a level G to a level B kid, they're not going to be successful. So I sometimes will step in and say, you know what? Andy loves that too. Why don't you give it to Andy? And then I say, during independent reading time tomorrow, Andy, I want you to read that book to them. Because then you just get into stuff, you're just doing things to do it. And if you're doing things with no successful outcome, then why are you doing it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But David, I got a question.
What's your question, Jason?
Why every Wednesday we need to do this? Why every Wednesday?
Because we have to go to school just like you, Jason.
Why we need to go to school Wednesday?
Because you got to learn, that's why.
Huh?
Yes, Miss Allen.
I've been in the room, so I know, but for the other people to know, how do the students know what the other students like? Like I said, I know you like this and that. So how is that knowledge exposed so we know what everybody likes?
That was just the beginning of the year, just building a community of readers because, like I said before, whatever you love, you're going to put effort into. So half the battle is getting these kids wanting to read. If you can get them to want to read, you can get them to do anything. So interest inventories, talking a lot. I have mailboxes with their interests on it. And everybody just knows everybody. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you know who likes bugs. You know who likes Junie B. You know who hates nonfiction books because they're boring. Like, you just know. And the kids know.
And I'm thinking about this from our level.
Yeah.
And I think what I would try is in the beginning of the year, just start talking to everybody as a whole group. What do you guys like to read about? And maybe making a list. Have a picture of a dog, have a picture of a frog, whatever, or just animals or whatever in general, and put names under genres or topics and have that posted in the library. Because then if they don't know the person automatically, They could look over at that list and
Good idea.
figure it out.
Add to it.
Yeah.
And you could add or change. You know what? I'm kind of read as much as I ever want to know about frogs. I really don't want to add anymore. Take their name off and move it to something else.
And the whole like
Make sure it's being authentic. Do you ever recommend something to somebody based on their abilities? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, there has to be this sense of freedom and this sense of we're doing it. And it's so slow, Misty. Like, I love that because, I mean, everything, like, you take one small piece, it works or it doesn't, you build. It works or it doesn't, you build. You take something away. And then you have this big community of readers. Be quiet about anything. We have lots of teachers in here to listen.
We need farms. These things are made of wool. Wool comes from a sheep. A sheep lives on a farm. These things are made from cotton.
And Bria, will you do something for me? Will you really just talk about the book? Just speak what you're thinking. Will you do that? And you can even turn the book so that they can see it, okay? Tell them a little bit about what you're going to learn in this book.
You're going to learn all about what clothes are made from, and that's why and something that why we need farms and food.
I started book talks really embraced them a fourth of the way through the year last year, and what I thought they were going to be wasn't what they were. It is all really student driven. When we read as adults, we read for enjoyment or because we gain knowledge, and then we go and we share it with people. What I was doing before is kids were reading during independent reading time, and then there was no closure. So they had all these new ideas.